Hi everybody. .com's okay too. It'll just send you to a link to .org. That's just being revised. My name is Chris Lengyel. I'm a retired combat veteran. Before I go into my little segment today, I just want to express that it is very, very important for each and every one of us to maintain self-care habits, positive self-care habits. So if at any time during my presentation today, you feel triggered, or things get a little bit too much, where you look at me and like, that's the biggest asshole I've ever seen in my life, F you. I can't believe you just said that. Feel free to stand up, wait outside. I won't take offense to it. I was in the military, so a lot of how I present things are no BS, straight to the point. People need to hear it. So without further ado, I'm gonna go into what I have prepared today. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. No one knows what PTSD is unless you've been in the military, unless you've been to war, period, the end. You haven't experienced trauma until you've seen someone blown up by an IED. You haven't experienced trauma unless you've been in the pits with brothers and sisters next to you bearing arms defending the Constitution of the United States. That's what I used to think. That's what the media portrays. They constantly feed you stories on the news of the man home from Iraq or Afghanistan at 2 o'clock in the morning, running out of his house in a whirlwind of emotions with his AR-15, popping around off possibly in the neighborhood, making sure everyone's safe just because his son got out of bed to get a cookie in the middle of the night. But it sent that vet into a flight, fight, or freeze, and he chose to fight because that's what we're trained to do first. We're trained to fight. Oftentimes I get vets that have this diluted mentality like I once did, and until my own experience working in the trauma field as a coach, as a counselor, advisor, healer, I realized it's not just military. See, it wasn't until I met Sally, who when I met was 32 at the time. This was a year and a half ago. And see, Sally's story was different than what a lot of my brothers and sisters experienced downrange in war. And see, for Sally, it was when she was 12 years old, she was raped for the first time by her uncle who babysat her every day of the week while her parents worked. And once it was found out, her parents were in a situation where they couldn't afford to move out of the house. So I had to tell my battle buddy who had this delusional thought like I did, that you don't know trauma unless you were in the military. I said, now, wait a second. You're not in Afghanistan. I'm not physically there. I'm not in Iraq. I'm not in the Gulf War. I'm not in Vietnam. I'm right here. See, Sally can't say that. Because every day for the next 5 years, Sally went right back home to where these events took place, where she lost control. She had to sit at the same dinner table with her family, knowing that earlier that day, that perpetrator came and abused her in the same kitchen, in the same bathroom. And she had to live there for the next 7 years until she finally decided, I can't take this anymore and I need to find a way out. So I urge people to start thinking about things differently. We have to. We can't think in all or nothing altruistic statements anymore, because it's just not the case. Yes, I was in the military. My trauma and my survival from the military is my story. It doesn't own me. Our experiences vary, but the symptoms don't discriminate. What about child abuse? Car accidents? If it's not done right under proper medical conditions, and even in medical conditions, childbirth can be very traumatic for a woman. How about people who are 45 years old, 50 years old, 55, 60, and all of a sudden they see their grandchild at their house. Their grandbaby's 9 years old, and all of a sudden that reminds them, when I was 9 years old, my father beat me. And now I have a 65-year-old woman being triggered by her 9-year-old granddaughter because it reminded her of what used to happen to her when she was that age. It didn't affect her for the last 50 years of her life, but because she walked in and was triggered by that, everything got back up. Childhood trauma, now dealing with it as an adult. So you see, trauma has a lot of different faces. It's not just military, it's not just females, it's not just males. It's pretty much almost everyone. We've all experienced something. It's just how we all deal with it differently. So in my efforts as a vet, I don't have the ability anymore physically to defend our Constitution. I was injured in Afghanistan. I'm 28 years old. That happened when I was 24. Getting out at 24, I wanted to have the same life I did before. I want to go play sports, I want to have fun with my friends, and I physically couldn't do it. I ended up hurting myself again. I've had 3, 4, 5 joint surgeries now, trying to put things back together, so it's just I'm a 28-year-old in a 90-year-old's body. That's what happens. But through that experience and overcoming my own PTSD, I decided, look, there's a lot of things going on right now that we're not addressing. See, there's a lot of red tape in our communities, from our governments and politicians down to our general population, that needs help. Did you know it costs almost $8,500 to send someone to an inpatient treatment program for just 30 days? That's what insurance bills at. $8,500. No wonder insurance companies don't want to sign off on a 30-day treatment program, especially when all we have is addiction treatment centers. And if you looked at statistics, it's an 80% failure rate of our addiction treatment programs. 80% of people going into that program will fail and relapse and start using and abusing drugs again. That's nationwide in the system that we've created because we criminalize addicts. We turn people into things that they're not just because of the problems that they face. A rape victim, maybe. She's weak. She isn't worthy. She can't stand for herself. We've just turned her something and have no idea, just heard a story, but made our own perception and our own opinion on someone, which now labels them. What does that do to the human psyche? It damages. It divides and it separates. I've come to the conclusion, in my opinion, that the only thing that we can do to fix these problems is come together. Provide unity, provide community. That's why I started helpmeptsd.org. After a couple friends decided to check the time card out, and that's an issue with the veteran community, as you much know, I decided to start this organization, and it started with live stream videos. I give it an hour of my time online. I'll just go live and bring on different professionals. Well, it kind of blew up in a way that I didn't expect. I had a lot of people watching me, and it wasn't even from the United States, it's from all over the world, and other different places like Iraq, Afghanistan, Africa. Because see, a lot of people in the world, they don't even have access to mental health care. They can't physically be there, but they have access to internet. So when I bring on a licensed counselor on my live stream video that talks about different techniques, not only are the people in our support community on Help Me PTSD getting that, but it's going to villages in Nigeria who have recently asked for me to put together a team and come out there because they can't get to the city to get mental health care. And that country's been at war forever. It hasn't stopped. So 2 lessons out of that. 1, this is much bigger than myself. And number 2, you never know what kind of impact you can have as one person until you just put yourself out there. Because I had never intended for me to reach out past the United States, let alone past Arizona. And that's kind of where we're at. We focus on providing a continual positive community of support for trauma survivors and their families. It's not about being military, it's not about your experience before, which is important. I'm not telling you to ever forget about your experience. You have to own that. You don't have to let it own you. What I am telling you is that when we come together as a community and we build relationships with each other, we learn and grow from each other and take down the barriers of our experiences and focus on the symptoms that don't discriminate: nightmares, anxiety, depression, disassociation, fear, irrational belief systems. I'm not loved, I'm not lovable. No one likes me, no one ever will like me. No one will accept me because of the things that I've experienced, and I'm too afraid to talk about it because I might offend someone else. So I'm just going to harbor that to myself and let it be the only way to my life. That doesn't get anywhere. When we embody the community in love and kindness and peace, no matter where we come from, our background, religious beliefs, spiritual beliefs, and become just as human beings, you can impact a lot more people than just what's around you. Because you're taking away the diversity, and you're presenting yourself in a way humbly and in a humanitarian way. Community, we can thrive. Another thing while I close out has been on my heart for a while this week, and it's the word faith. What does faith mean? From a religious perspective, some might say faith is a blind trust. I don't buy it. I don't buy blind things I can't see. So I came up with my own unique way of faith. In my organization, I say, let your faith in me, in my organization, and all these other beautiful organizations that is, let your faith ride in people's actions, not in the words that they say. Over the last 2 years, I've been able to establish 2 free support groups in a month, completely free. Broke the money barrier. You don't have to have money to be here. Now I will tell you, my group might not be for everyone. We're very proactive. We're not in the victim stage. If you're not in the victim stage, you're proactive and you're ready to learn and tackle your problems, and that's where you're at in your healing, which some people aren't, and that's okay. That's where we're focused at. We've experienced, now we want to heal. We've healed a little bit, now we just need to mold, form, perfect my anxiety relief technique. Perfect all of my positive coping mechanisms. What makes me happy? Do that. Do what makes you happy. Be selfish. Those are things people won't tell you. Be selfish. No, I got raised up saying, you need to not be selfish. You're so selfish. Stop it. So then all of a sudden now we stop caring about ourselves, and now we cater to everyone else. And that left us with what I feel is a society of people that are in a victim mentality from the time that they were raised because they were taught never to care about themselves but just worry about everyone else. I'm not saying it's true for everyone, but I think a lot of people can resonate with that, and it's sad. I'm telling you, be selfish. Take care of yourself. Take the little extra time to take a fishing trip. Go do whatever makes you happy. Find those avenues of happiness that can bring you out of depression. And not only that, bring someone with you. Be connected. Facebook. It's like, I had a post the other week, it's like Facebook friends are like people in the grocery store right behind you. I acknowledge your presence, but I don't really know you, and I really don't care, I'm just trying to check out. Please don't talk to me right now. Like, you know, it's sad. Let's break those barriers down. Be social, go out there. Ask the people that are on your friends list, hey, plan an event, let's go, let's get together, let's be out. How is everyone doing? Lift them up, be the positive change you wish to see. If you have any questions about my organization, you can find them. You can reach me at helpmeptsd.org. Has all my information on there. There's a phone number up there. Like I said, we work with veterans, non-veterans. My first seminar, I thought I was gonna walk into a crowd of vets that I could have a lot of fun with, cuss a little bit. And in 10 steps, I had to change everything I said because it was 100 people showed up, and there was 1 male, 0 veterans, and the rest were all female, very much older than me. And so I'm walking up to the stage and I'm just thinking, I was like, oh, shit. What am I gonna say as a disgruntled male veteran about trauma to all these females that I'm guessing have experienced very different things than me? It was eye-opening, but we made it through. And I was able to impact their lives because I take a different perspective a lot of the times, and I was still able to help the people that came there, plus with the rest of the people that showed up to guest speak. So other than that, that's what I have today. And thank you so much for letting me speak. At this time, do you have any trauma-related questions or anything related to what I do that I might be able to clarify? Yes?
Do you have any seminars and groups or resources in Spanish?
Currently, I do not. The question was, do I have any resources that are in Spanish, in Espanol? No, I do not. I'm currently trying to reach out to the Latino community and Mexican American communities to establish that kind of network. If there's someone that, here's the thing, it's a time commitment. My groups are free. I don't get paid to be there. Yet, hopefully, maybe someday, but that's not important to me. It's important for people to show up and get the healing they need, or at least referred to the places they're at. So if you have someone that's interested in taking on that volunteer aspect, because I'm one translator away from having everything I need done in Spanish. I can't afford to pay for it. It's just not in my budget right now. There's other things that I do. I travel a lot to other states to bring this message around. So it is in my thought process for in the future, but at this time, no. Yes. So they're in Tempe. The support group that I run is at Harvest of Tempe. It is a medical marijuana, I don't like the word marijuana, it's a medical cannabis facility. I endorse cannabis fully. I think it's better than pills, my opinion, take it or leave it. 710 West Elliott. It's the first and third Wednesday of the month. All that information will be found on the website. The focus there is not medical cannabis. It is a safe place from what I see. Like the advocate in the homeless community had said, you're going to start seeing a lot more wet facilities. Because incarcerating addicts or people that are substance dependent isn't the answer. If you look up and research Portugal, they've had, in the last 3 years, they decriminalized all their drugs, and they incorporated a system of embodying community, love, and happiness, and reintegration. And what they saw with that is drug-related crime went down over, I think, 35%. Drug addiction and overdose went down over 65%. And what was that? There's one other random fact in there that everything went down pretty much by legalizing drugs, which sounds really crazy, but if you have the right social structure and facilities in place to harbor that healing, it works very beautifully, and it's actually less, it's more cost effective for the general public and their tax dollars, which is what, I forget his name, Doug had mentioned earlier. Is there any other questions? Yes.
So I've been diagnosed with PTSD, and one thing in my journey of figuring out the language of it, that's why I like to speak to it, is that the more comfortable I am with myself and being honest, understanding that not everybody else, especially professional, understands what PTSD is, and yet isn't it an invisible disability, or is it not? I mean, how is it even labeled in the spectrum of things? And I'm just wondering how your experience with people has been in terms of helping them to help themselves, because it has such a horrible connotation to it in the professional world.
Right,
You know?
and it is a problem. It's a stigma that people, once you get labeled with PTSD, like you're dealing with employers that don't want to hire you. If you get labeled with PTSD in the military, you get kicked out, kind of. No, we don't want you anymore. You're a liability. You're kind of a risk. I don't know if you're going to snap. And it's not like that. There's different levels of it, you know, and it affects people differently. This isn't a cookie cutter, one shape fits all. What you said is perfect to fit that. It's about me, looking at me and accepting me who I am. What's going to heal me? There's no counselor in the world, and if they tell you, I know exactly what's going to work for you. Find a new counselor. They don't know nothing. The first thing I say when I walk in and I have a coaching client, which I don't counsel, I'm not a licensed counselor, board doesn't like cannabis, it's an issue, that's why I'm not. But I tell them, they're like, well, I've had clients, well, what do you think? They're like, I'm gonna tell you the first thing, I don't know anything. I have no idea, I know nothing. Well, what I'm telling you is like, I don't know, but I've experienced a lot, and maybe if you tell me a little bit about what's going on right now in your current situation, we can come up with a solution together. Because the thing is in counseling, and a sidebar in counseling, if I tell you what to do, there's like a real low % chance that you're even gonna do it, let alone like follow through with it consistently. But research says that if you choose what you do, just by mentally saying, I'm gonna do that, is like a better percentage of you actually following through. If you take that thought and write it down, that percentage increases. If you take that thought, write it down, and say it out loud, and make that a positive affirmation on a daily basis for longer than 7 to 10 days, your chances go up. Like I said, the faith thing, it's in the actions you do. Not that can impact the people around you, but it also impacts your own self-being. My actions, what do I do? What do I choose to do? Yes, Mary.
Can you balance your anxiety relief technique with the cannabis, and why cannabis helps ameliorate some of the anxiety?
Okay. Go ahead. Am I?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
Here's the shortest way I can answer this. Cannabis is not for everyone. Cannabis helped me get off 15 pharmaceutical drugs, including Oxycontin, Xanax, Buspar, Zoloft, Seroquel, gabapentin. You can probably, if you start naming them off, it'll be like, yes, yes, yes. That's not true for everyone. I do acknowledge, I have my bachelor's in professional counseling, I do acknowledge that for some cases, medication is very necessary. It is. I just am under the impression that our country provides medication very much too often. Now, with the cannabis and anxiety thing, cannabis is known that in high amounts, it actually can exacerbate certain disorders such as schizophrenia. It's horrible for that. If you have schizophrenia, you should not use cannabis at all, period. You just shouldn't. It's bad for you. Bipolar disorder, depending on which way you go most often, cannabis can be bad for you. If you have anxiety, cannabis can be bad for you. So with PTSD and anxiety, how I looked at it and what works for me is I use a very low percentage of THC quality cannabis. So it's like what they have out there right now, like all this dab stuff and craziness, I can't touch with a 10-foot pole. I will freak out. At the lower levels, and it's different for everyone, I find that I can not only manage my anxiety, but it's making me less depressed. This is not something that I use every day. It's now it's an emergency. I have certain products. You have to look at cannabis as a way to, just as you would walking into a CVS store and saying, if I have a cough, I'm gonna get cough medicine. If I have allergies, I'm gonna get allergy medicine. For me, if I have anxiety, I'm gonna get CBD. If I have joint pain, I'm gonna use a cream because it's going right on the spot where it's affecting. If I have indigestion, I'm gonna look for a tincture with that product in it and different things that I feel work for my indigestion. I'm gonna take a tincture that way. So it's just like a medicine. It's just people don't see it that way. Everyone that knows me is like, oh, I gotta smoke the blunt and I feel great. It's not like that. Most of the medical cannabis patients I know don't even smoke it. I haven't smoked. I got 3 kids at home. My son is very sensitive to smell, and he would be like, Daddy, what that smell is? I can't deal with that. I don't have time for it. So I use a lot of like the edibles or in capsule form because it's measurable. In any therapeutic modality of treatment, when it comes to medication, the goal is to have the lowest dosing amount for the most effective aspect. So what's the lowest amount of medication I can take to get the desired results that I need? And then do that in a society of America where everyone wants supersized everything, and then you wonder why we have a lot of the issues because they pop Xanax out of a Pez dispenser. So it's there's a lot of different issues we can talk about, but I hope that answered some of the questions that you had. Again, if you have anything or any other questions about cannabis, there's a great resource center at Harvest of Arizona. They do inpatient orientations with a naturopathic doctor who knows much more than I do. They do that twice a month, one in Scottsdale, one in Tempe. My support groups are ongoing. I do coaching, but most often I refer people to other coaches or counseling services because I'm not the right fit for them. So if you do have any more questions, feel free to reach out to my helpmeptsd.org or follow us on Facebook or on YouTube. If you search Help Me PTSD, it will lead you to something we have. Anything else? Thank you.